Hi, everybody. Good morning if it's morning with you. Otherwise, wait till tomorrow to listen to this. And start it off first thing in the morning. Get yourself a piping hot cup of coffee. And just sit back, you know. Today's fun fact is snakes can predict earthquakes.
Today's sad truth is my grandma could not. Welcome back.
Yeah, buddy.
Our daily podcast.
Only some days, but daily. I don't know when I'm gonna actually release this episode, so I'm gonna say what day it is.
Well, let's be perfectly honest with our audience first. We when we start out, we don't know whether to say good morning or good night because we're in like a timeless realm.
Yeah. So it's both morning and night right now.
But we're on the same day as most people. Yeah. So you could say your thing.
It's effectively what it is we record this at some point during the day, but we always have all the blinds shut and the lights out, and we like stay under like towels because we want to stay in the dark. So for us, there's really no discernible difference between day and night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the 26th of March. We're recording this the day before we release episode 3, even though this is episode 4. Our posting schedule, I don't know what it is. So if you are listening to this in like April, just know that the other day, Mueller's report on Trump came out, so this is topical. His report didn't come out, the summary of it came out, and there are some pretty big revelations coming out about what Robert Mueller found in his investigation of Donald Trump.
I thought Robert De Niro was doing the investigation.
He's playing Robert Mueller in the movie about the investigation.
Oh, okay. Alright.
It's called, I don't know what joke I want to make for the name of the movie, so we're going to come back to that after this conversation. Set the timer. So, amongst the biggest things, one big reveal was Robert Mueller spent about a third of the report complaining about the cancellation of According to Jim in 2009. Big fan of the show, which I am too. Gotta love Jim Belushi, as we talked about in episode 2. Unfortunately, some pretty bad revelations about him had recently come out about his embezzlement and his role in the political turmoil going on in Turkey, and Robert Mueller.
Not to be confused with Turkey.
Not Turkey.
No.
Turkey is a sovereign state inside of Georgia, the American Georgia, and it's just it was a turkey farm where there was a successful proletariat revolution by the animals. So
it's like Chicken Run, but with turkeys.
Yeah, and with a lot more murder.
So less Nazi symbolization.
Yeah, it was weird. But anyways. Mueller found a lot of connections between them canceling According to Jim and Jim turning to Turkey and being like, hey, listen, my show got canceled. I've got a big new idea for you. Let's try and, stage a coup. I thought he was on the side of the government. He wasn't. But he flipped immediately. So now he's working with the Turkish government. So Jim Belushi's really just doing a bunch of crazy shit.
He immediately, he thought stage a coup in Turkey because, like birds coo, like cuckoo, that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what he thought they were going to do, but then they explained it to him, and he was like, oh, okay, I can do that too, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he really went along with it. It was.
Yeah. He was reading up
very
on
down to earth, chill guy. He'll go along with you with whatever you want. It's what people love about him. That's why the show is so great.
It was.
No one knows why.
And if they didn't cancel it, we wouldn't have what's going on in Turkey right now. And that's what Mueller found. So one of the biggest revelations was Trump looks like a dumb Cheeto, and a lot of liberals.
Well, and Robert Mueller is just figuring this out because while even doing the investigation on Trump, he has taken very little time to actually look at Trump.
Yeah. He was saying it was sort of like for him like Jaws, where he's like, I'm doing all this stuff. I don't want to like, see the beast.
Yeah. He's going after it. It's a scathing report. Scathing.
Absolutely. He looks like a big dumb Cheeto, and then the word "covfefe" appears about 300 times in the report.
Well, yeah, and actually, they use different fonts and font sizes and like spacing and stuff with all the covfefes, so that it actually looks like a tiny hand.
Yeah.
Like the tiny hand from was it Scary Movie? I think it was. There was a Scary Movie too.
I've seen both of those, and I have no idea what you're talking about. So.
And the servant guy had like one like tiny grotesque hand. No, I can't remember the actor.
You're probably right, but I don't remember.
Well, actually, Donald Trump played him. Now that I think about it, it was Donald Trump, and they didn't use fake hands. Those were his actual hands. When he's out in the world, he has fake hands on, like in Always Sunny, the uncle guy, he has those like big fake hands in the court episode. It's like those, but obviously a lot better made to look more realistic.
Exactly.
And Always Sunny, they're satire, obviously, so they make it big as a jokey joke. But Donald Trump, he doesn't want to go too big and scare the people away. So he does moderately sized, but in actuality, his hands are about the size of nickels. And this this wasn't even a rant. I'm reading directly from the report.
Yeah,
these are all 100% quotes from the report.
Mostly pop culture references. There's an entire 3-page section about how much he likes Alec Baldwin's Trump on SNL.
Yeah,
loves it.
Yeah, and thinks that they should make a Shadow 2.
Shadow 2, where Alec Baldwin plays Trump and Shadow.
It's featuring Jim Belushi.
Absolutely. I mean, Jim Belushi needs to be...
He's still alive.
Jim?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Jim Belushi can't die. It's a truly tragic tale.
Was that fact addressed in the show?
Yeah, that was season 3. That was kind of the whole arc.
I mean, I watched the show, but just for the people who haven't seen it, maybe.
Yeah. Make sure the people at home, because obviously we've seen every episode of According to Jim at least 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the.
Well, that's how many times you're supposed to watch it.
Yeah.
According to Jim. All right.
I literally just slapped my knee.
The genuine.
That was a genuine little knee slap.
Genuine knee slapper.
But yeah, generally speaking, the Robert Mueller report does validate everything the liberals wanted it to in terms of the fact that Trump has dumb hair. He's an orange Cheeto in chief, commander in Cheeto. He's got weird small hands. The word covfefe is usually just, either when it's the acrostic poem of his weird hands, or if he's just saying it, just a lot of that. And a lot of the podcast is him quoting just directly from the Krasenstein Twitter guys, who just reply to every Trump tweet going like, "You're going to jail, Hunty. Canceled. Boom." Let that sink in, just all the time. Because they're really the Walter Cronkites of our era.
And I think the weirdest part was that invoice that was actually part of the report that was made out to the liberal media.
Yeah.
Like he was charging them to write this report. I don't know why he charged them unless, I don't know. The media can't lie, right?
I guess that's probably what they... I'm not hip with the slang. I assume that's what they mean when they say, like, he has receipts, is he was paid by the liberal media to slander Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That's probably what they mean by that phrase.
See, invoices?
Talking about Robert Mueller's invoices for slandering Trump. So that's pretty much all we have about Robert Mueller's report. Not much has come out yet, but I do think that generally the big takeaway is he did not call for Trump's impeachment. It doesn't exonerate him, but it does sort of incriminate him on the grounds of being a covfefe-headed dumbass, according to the summary that AG Barr put out. So we'll see what happens. I think generally speaking, we can agree though. Every time some news scandal or thing has come out about Trump in terms of a crime he openly, explicitly commits in the public eye, where people close to him or the campaign are indicted for crimes committed under his guidance, all of them have led to him getting impeached so far. So I'm sure that this will actually result in that too. And we definitely won't have...
And if none of those get him impeached, maybe the thing about hamburgers will. That was the thing, right?
The cheeseburgers to the NFL people.
Well, no, I think he said hamburger or something.
Oh yeah, he said hamburger. I thought you were talking about when he fed them all cold
hamburgers and
McDonald's.
cookies. Oh yeah, I mean that too, because the government was on a shutdown. He didn't have all his workers there to cook him shit.
He's like, it hurts to have.
And the saddest part about that, I mean, the coolest part about that. Is that it shows that he's down to earth, you know, like he's eating McDonald's with the people, you know, like he could have gotten a fancy meal from a fancy restaurant and paid these people the proper respects, you know, for making it all the way there and taking time out of their lives to eat dinner with him, even though he's such a huge asshole to them. Whatever.
No, what sucks is we have a president who's like an unhinged online weird ass who like thinks like $1,000 of stale McDonald's is like the coolest thing, and he's like just
now when
yeah, exactly.
That would have been
but genuinely, like, we have a president like that, but not in a good way. Like, everything about him sucks ass, but then it's like,
and then he has these goofy quirks that aren't like endearing because the rest of him is terrible.
Yeah, like
if Obama had this weird stuff or something, like, well, maybe not. I mean, it's not a great example. A lot of people didn't like him either.
Yeah, like, I'm a big fan of drone striking innocent civilians, but I'm not a fan of making...
Who was the last nice president?
Jimmy Carter.
Oh. Al Gore is actually just Jimmy Carter in disguise. He tried again.
Honestly, that's in terms of let's conspiracy theory time.
New segment.
Conspiracy theories. Al Gore.
Real life smash cut. New segment. Conspiracy theories.
So, you know the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
Mm-hmm.
Al Gore...
I thought they just did... Danny DeVito did both parts.
He did, but, like, mocapping as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, okay.
Like, Andy
So Serkis. It was a CG Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Okay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was on as, like, a...
giant tool.
I can't remember the word.
I don't even know the word that you're looking for.
Someone who, like, gives them information about a thing. Like, an expert, like a reference, but there's a word for, like, movies when you have a guy whose job is to, like, tell them this is what you should do. Like, the person who comes on, it's like, hey, this movie, we have something about, like, a silverback gorilla. And the guy comes on and he's like, alright, I'm the guy who's going to give you the information on it.
And actually, they're diamondback gorillas.
Exactly, diamondback gorillas. Well, I can't remember the word. Point is, Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie would be the Jimmy Carter to Al Gore's Danny DeVito character. Danny DeVito, if you haven't seen the movie, is made of the genetic waste that came off of the fetus of the perfectly created Arnold Schwarzenegger in the womb. That was a medical experiment thing. Jimmy Carter, this is my conspiracy theory, was the inspiration pretty much for the movie, I'm guessing, because as you know, Hollywood makes up, like, you know, real, fake versions of real things to put into things, like predicting 9/11 and The Simpsons. So they made twins about the real-life story of Jimmy Carter being created in a lab to create the perfect specimen of a human, and the waste of Jimmy Carter was Al Gore. So they're genetically the same, pretty much, except Al Gore isn't as sexually powerful as Jimmy Carter. Because,
I mean, no
one.
No one can be as sexually powerful as Jimmy Carter.
You look at Jimmy Carter and you just start sweating.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stop thinking about Jimmy Carter.
Oh,
his weird lips and his seductive, friendly eyes. Just going out there and building houses from scratch for no one in particular. He just like, I'm just gonna put up this house and see what happens.
Building houses and pulling the hairs out of his chest and using them as insulation.
Mm-hmm. Those houses, the materials from them, if he can't find it on the ground in front of him by ripping a tree apart with his bare hands, he makes it from himself. He will trim his fingernails until he has enough keratin to build a pillar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is just devoted to making these houses, and, you know, he cares about the environment and stuff like that. Al Gore, he just kind of walks around like, I also am concerned, but he couldn't build a house to save his life. He tried to build his kids a tree house, and it was like just a paper bag that he threw up into the tree, and he was like, that's more eco-friendly because we're reusing. And they were like, Dad, can't fit in the bag. And he's like, you should reduce. And they didn't even know what to make of that, but he meant, like, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. He doesn't know what it means.
Well, he only really was told about the first part.
Yeah.
The reduce. And he just kind of just dozed off on the rest of it. He was, thinking about, being the world's best next vice president.
Yeah. And Al Gore really doesn't get enough flack for being responsible for the current situation in terms of, like, Donald Trump and Nazis online and all that, because Al Gore invented the internet. Without that, we wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
He really is the downfall of mankind.
And that is not a joke. He did invent the internet.
Yeah. He's like
no matter what cursory image Google search might show you, he did invent the internet, and
obviously,
everybody else is
if
lying.
you Google search it and get something telling you that's not true, how are you going to trust that? Al Gore invented it. Boom. Let that sink in. I can't think of the things people say at the end of a thing like that to sound like smart, to explain to people, like, my point is done and you should think that it's smart. Like, people go like, boom. Let that sink in.
Bazinga.
But yeah. Fuck.
Huge Big Bang Theory fans.
Yeah. Who's not?
Yeah.
I'll tell you who isn't. Al Gore. Al Gore is the trickster god of Earth who just walks around to communities, and, like, there will be, like, a nice, like, group of youth pastors hanging out in a Denny's, and Al Gore walks up and he'll be like, why don't you go on to Reddit and become radicalized by your virginity? And they're like, you know what? I want to get a gun, and, constantly just he's like Kung Fu with David Carradine, where he just goes from town to town to autoerotically asphyxiate himself. Al Gore doing that, but with just instigating people into getting radicalized by the alt-right online.
Yeah.
That was the end goal of the internet.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah, we're close.
We're getting there.
Oh yeah, I had to come up with a joke about something, and I still don't know. I don't remember what the setup was anymore.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
But, alright.
So, update. As I said, I was going to come up with the punchline to that joke about Mueller and Trump. I did just come up with it. Here it is, folks. Here's my joke, my little quirky little joke line thing here. Bazinga. That was terrifying.
I'm sorry. Sometimes when things are really funny to me, I turn into a witch briefly. It's a big problem I have.
I was wondering why you had so many brooms here.
Yeah, well, I do live in a broom closet.
That's why it's so dark all the time.
Yeah. Well, brooms don't need lights. Who gives a shit about putting a light in a broom closet?
How are they gonna grow?
Well, that's why I fly them around. They get their exercise.
Yeah, get them big and strong.
Yeah.
I douse my brooms in milk so they can get muscular.
Yeah, I just fill my bathtub with milk and just soak them. Well, I'm a gamer. I'm a video game boy. I play video games, so I keep up with that stuff.
Fuck yeah!
And something that's been around or been like talked about for a little bit now is Google is coming out with its own video gaming system, and I don't understand why.
It's like the Xbox. If you've ever heard of the Xbox, folks, Google's going to be coming out with the search box.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's you get a controller. It's got, how many buttons does the keyboard have? It has the same amount of buttons as a keyboard, whatever number that is. You can cut it. Okay. It's a very complicated controller. It's flat. It has letters on it, as opposed to like symbols and triggers and stuff. And you just go on it and you use this specialized controller to use the Google interface, like the Google gaming interface, and you type in with this controller a game that you want to play, and then it takes you to a website that has a free shitty version of that game. And I really think that this is a big step for Google. They've been making money all over the place, and I think it's finally time that they throw some of it away on something completely stupid.
Yeah. For reference, my keyboard has 92 keys on it.
You counted to 92 very fast.
I'm pretty happy with myself. Yeah. I think, generally speaking, we don't have enough video game consoles anymore, because you used to have like the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, the Sega Genesis, you had the Dreamcast, you had the Nintendo 64, you had the PlayStation 1, you had the
Game & Watch,
you had the Virtual Boy, Sega CD, Pong,
TI-88 calculator.
Atari, did we say Atari?
No, we didn't say Atari. Commodore 64.
Commodore 64. N-Gage. You remember the N-Gage?
No.
It was a cell phone gaming system. It looked like... It looked like they tried to make like one circle phone kind of, well, no, I don't know. It looked like a piece of shit. And it the only game I remember being on it was Tomb Raider. The screen was a whopping 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. So if you held it close to one of your eyes, you could kind of see what you were doing. It was the new face of gaming for a while. My buddy had one, and he would play that while I played SSX Tricky on the PlayStation 2. So I don't know who won. And then let's see what else we got. The N-Gage. We got, the best video game system of all, the iPad.
Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
can't go wrong.
You
could play Fortnite. You could play PUBG. You could play Adventure Capitalist. You could play Solitaire.
Oh yeah.
You can't play Solitaire. You can play Uno on an Xbox One. Can't play Solitaire though. There's no Solitaire game. I could go on my computer play Solitaire for free. Fuck that. I want to go to GameStop, get a $60 used copy of Solitaire covered in scratches. That I want to frustratingly play the first half of 1,000 games with. Because the first person who had it never made it all the way through. And they just threw their Xbox every time. So that's how they scratched the second half of the disc. The first half was perfect.
Yeah. That's how discs work is like the part that
you have to rewind them too. Yeah. It's awful. Especially with video games. It's very hard to rewind a video game.
Absolutely.
They don't like it when you do that.
Pop those bad
especially when you're in the
VCR. I mean. But you remember
you put them in the VHS
and then you shove that in the
VCR.
Because
the VHS has like the actual turny thing. The VHS itself could be watched without a VHS player, but they just made that to simplify it for people who couldn't separate it from cassettes, because all these newfangled computers and shit. Mm-hmm. I remember when a computer was a person who computed. Heard that one before? I hear it all the time. Everybody over the age of 45.
People my age, man, whenever I pull out my laptop, they're just like, what the heck is that? You got one of those newfangled iPhones?
Is that a desktop that you put on your lap?
Whoa.
There's no desk here.
Your lap is not a desk. What the heck are you, and then, you got, kids looking at it like, hey, why do you got those buttons?
Well, if you have a laptop, you don't have kids because your testicles are blown to shit. But other people's kids
from fucking your laptop.
That's what all the holes are for.
Yeah,
they're literally riddled with holes. They were made for fucking.
Laptops are our generation's Marilyn Monroe.
This MacBook was made for fucking, and that's just what it'll do. Actually, MacBooks weren't made for fucking. They don't have any holes on them. I forgot.
No, MacBooks are the nuns of the computer world.
Well, nobody wants to put their bits inside of a... Like they say
that... Get it? Bit. Computers. Bits. Computers have, bits and stuff.
Good one.
ASMRs of Jake being underwhelmed with my jokes.
ASMR pretzel eating. Oh, good lord. But yeah, so new Google gaming console. Because you were saying there's not enough, and you know what they do now. So there's 3 consoles basically.
Good.
Now, there's the Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. But what they're doing now is instead of making new hardware, they just update it and resell it in a different packaging. So Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox One XXX, which is the one that you can fuck. Yeah. Then the PS4, PS4 Pro, PS4 Noob, which is the ones
where they have the X, iPhone XS and 9E, whatever the fuck they do.
Yeah.
I don't have an iPhone. I don't really understand it. I have a laptop. Make phone calls on my laptop.
Yeah. That's what they're for.
Old-fashioned way. I thought of a cool way you could shorten cellular telephone, because you got it's a long thing to say, cellular telephone, every time you refer to one. You could call it a celluphone or cellophone, because it's sell and tell rhyme. So that could be what we call them now.
Cellophone sounds like a phone made out of tape. Cellotape.
Oh, see, I thought
British.
The jokes I was going to make. You could go with xylophone or you could go with cellophane. So you say tape, and I'm like, I don't know which of those you're going with. And you shot off in a third direction I did not calibrate for. Good.
For those of you listening and can't see us because there is no video recording of this, I just did a Fortnite dance, which proves my my alphaness over the other host here.
I'm not a gamer.
And if you ever want to prove that you are alpha, look someone straight in the eyes, floss, and tell them that they have lovely hair. They will be confused, and they probably might not even speak English, depending on the type of people who like to floss and the type of people you yell at. Also, you're probably children, so you shouldn't listen to this anyway.
What makes you
so that's
think
my
our
bit about
listening
flossing.
Base
Did you like that bit about flossing?
Yeah, I loved it.
It was great. And by flossing, I don't mean your teeth. By the way, for you elderly listeners.
Yeah.
We have a wide range of listeners all over the world and all age groups.
Yes, exactly. We have specifically, our listeners are one 8-year-old from Lebanon and a 90-year-old in Peru. Everyone else,
who are best friends. And we're actually working on buying the rights for a movie.
We're gonna make it's gonna be a beautiful movie.
It's gonna be called Perubanon. or Lebu. I think Lebu works. And obviously it's going to be a spiritual successor to Twins. Going back to that.
Yeah. Starring Al Gore, obviously.
Al Gore. Al Gore as
Peruvian, probably.
the Peruvian, because he kind of seems.
Which brings us to our guest for today, Mr. Al Gore. So come on in, Al. We want to thank you first of all, because if it wasn't for you creating the internet, we wouldn't have a way to release our podcast. So that's really the one good thing about you.
Yes.
It was one of my original visions when I made the internet to try and have a platform for people to release audio conversations, recordings of them talking to other people alone, telling people, hey, this is what I'm thinking about, and I wouldn't have called them podcasts so much as you startled me. I would have called them, if it were up to me, Little Talks.
I think that's a more catchy name. What would you say was maybe one of the biggest obstacles that you came across when creating the internet, Mr. Gore?
Well, for one thing, it's always...
Would you say that the internet might move a little too fast for your liking, Mr. Gore?
Well, I do agree. People like to refer to the internet as the information superhighway. And personally, when I'm on a highway, I try to go...
My way? All night long?
Well, listen, let me tell you, I'm aware of the reference. I've heard that song in the Disney Pixar film Cars. Which I will point out would not have existed had it not been for me and my select group of peers working diligently to create the internet, which allowed for the popularity of Apple and Apple products to pivot Steve Jobs into helping found Disney Pixar. Without the internet, we would not have seen the hit Disney Pixar film Cars, featuring Larry the Cable Guy, who's a personal friend.
It was a hit. It was a hit video game first, right?
That's correct.
It came out as a video game. I showed you that.
Yeah, my least favorite thing about the movie Cars from Disney Pixar featuring Larry the Cable Guy is they had to make it in around 24 hours because they were adapting it off of the hit video game Cars. And other production companies would have killed to be the first one to put out an adaptation of the video game Cars. So Disney Pixar had to make that movie in about one wild night. And as you've already stated, that sort of speed is a little bit much for me, Al Gore. To answer your original question, the biggest obstacle we faced in creating the internet had to probably be, now this is ignoring, as you stated already, the relative speed of the internet having been an obstacle for me personally. In addition to that, when we started inventing the internet, computers were just people who computed.
You know, I was just saying that, Mr. Gore. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that
You're welcome. Very much so.
Mr. Gore, could you do me a favor and please say the name of the movie again that starred all of those vehicles?
Are you referring to the hit Disney Pixar movie featuring Larry the Cable Guy, Cars?
Yes, thank you.
This movie later spawned multiple sequels and spin-offs, including Cars 2, Cars 3, and Planes. My least favorite thing about Cars, second only to the speed at which both the movie was made and the cars in the movie move, is the fact that the cars are generally not stated at any point to be fuel-efficient, electric vehicles, or hybrids. As a result, one can only imagine the carbon footprint of the films, seeing as there have now been about 4, including Planes, which, as you may know, require quite a bit of fuel.
Now, Mr. Gore, are you meaning to tell me that these are live-action movies?
Well, not quite.
Wait,
See, the way
did they mocap actual cars?
They had to mocap a car.
Were they all lowriders so they could bounce the front when they talk?
So, effectively, they had people who, didn't have mocap suits on, lifting things to make the cars move the way they needed the cars to move for the movie. And these were real cars. And then the actors playing the cars...
Just got why they're called movies.
Because the cars move. Originally, the name of Cars was supposed to be Disney Pixar's Cars Movie, and movie was spelled M-O-V-E-Y, to explain that the cars were moving in this movie. This was to differentiate it from the video game, which, despite the fact that the cars were moving, was not referred to as a movie, as it was a video game. Now,
holy shit.
to respond to your original question,
Oh my god!
one of the biggest obstacles of working on making the internet while computers were still just people who computed is that we didn't know where to connect the wires. That was a joke.
Thank you for spelling that out, Mr. Gore. I almost didn't get it.
The joke is,
Oh, no.
in order for your internet to work properly, you do need to connect certain wires to your computer. Now, when we refer to the modern computer that has come to exist since the time we were working on the internet, these are machines where there's several ports. You can include wires, or in the case of most commercial laptops, your sexual organ. The human body does not contain ports that are compatible with the wires necessary to operate the internet, such as USB ports, Ethernet cables, and other wirings.
Sorry, Mr. Gore. I swallowed a piece of lint. I'm biting into my clothing here. Wow. That is... I can't even remember the line of questioning that I was coming up with. It seems that you have a great fascination with the movie Cars. Now, did you have anything to do with production or advertisements for the movie? Or is this just a like an obsession that someone would have with, say, the movie Baywatch or something?
Now, full disclosure, I have not seen the movie Cars.
Okay.
My fascination with the movie is mostly in the fact that Disney Pixar was able to capture cars in an emotionally invigorating way based on the reviews I've read for said film. Also, personally, I am a friend of Larry the Cable Guy who was in the movie, and as a result, I personally feel a connection to the film as it is my friend playing one of the cars in the movie. Thus, I like to bring up this movie as an example of human achievement, despite the fact that I personally never watched it and I'm not very familiar with much of the movie, except for my favorite scene where they play Life is a Highway. The YouTube clip of which I watch on a semi-regular basis. I tried to lower the speed of the clip using the function YouTube offers to play the video at a slower rate, but sometimes I'm not successful in changing the speed prior to the video ending because I move too slowly.
Mr. Gore, switching from the internet and the movie Cars, wanted to ask about your time as Vice President of the United States. Obviously, Bill Clinton has been the center of a number of scandals, and I was wondering, what was it like working in that White House?
Well, to answer your question, Bill, who I like to call Bill, was a real character.
he would often tell jokes. People liked him.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue, Mr. Gore.
It's okay. A lot of people cut me off or interrupt me as a result of the fact that they believe I have stopped talking.
Okay.
Now, to answer your question, sorry, what were you saying?
Just please continue, Mr. Gore.
To answer your question about Bill, the scandals were definitely pretty wild stuff. I was not privy to most of what was going on because it was a very fast news cycle. I personally have not yet caught up on what precisely Bill was accused of, but I do wish his wife well in her political aspirations.
Is that you? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Gore.
So are you not aware of current events as a result of your slowness in keeping up with the news cycle? Well, I'm currently still reading through my collection of newspapers from 2003.
Okay.
I'm about there.
So, you know about September 11th?
I mostly read the funny pages.
So, yes.
Hagrid the Horrible did a pretty touching tribute to the September 11th terror attacks, as did Garfield, everyone's favorite lazy cat. As a result, my understanding of precisely what happened is framed through the Sunday Funny Pages interpretation of how we should remember the fallen.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm sorry for the long pauses. I'm just making sure that you are, in fact, done talking.
I was not.
Okay, well, we need you to be. You're on our time now, Mr. Gore.
I don't want to spoil too much for you, but are you aware passively that, like, we've had our first black president now? Oh, yeah. I remember people used to joke and laugh saying Bill, which is what I call Bill Clinton, was the first black president on account of the fact that he wore sunglasses and played music. Personally, I've never enjoyed music save for the song Life is a Highway, played at 50% speed on the YouTube clip of the scene from Disney Pixar's Cars
Now,
on YouTube.
it seems you keep mentioning this video. You've created the internet, yet you've only seen this one video on YouTube, I imagine? Is this the only video that you are aware of on the internet as of today?
It was my understanding that was the internet.
Just that one website. that one's like sub-site on the website.
I don't fully understand the question.
Neither do I at this point. To be perfectly honest with you, Mr. Gore. I'm just trying to glean something out of this interview, to be honest. We're going to have to cut most of this. I think we're getting close to the end of our illustrious podcast, which has been, we filmed like 6 podcasts and one with this one, but who cares? You don't know that until now. Anyway.
Wait. Were we done with our little talk? Yes, Mr. Gore.
King of the callback, Mr. Gore. We're coming to the end. Do you have any I'm sorry, I just had to reevaluate my life and wonder what brought me here. What do you have any closing words for our listeners? And any of our listeners, I guess I was going to say in Lebanon, but we could make this a bit more general. Do you have any final words, Mr. Gore? Yes.
First of all,
thank you. Goodbye.
I would like
No, okay, all right.
to thank you for having me. Second of all,